There it is.
There you go.
All right. So, like I was mentioning in the email, this is a super interesting one for me because I despise 2 bedroom, 1 baths. Like I always tell people to not go for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in this case, that wasn't the situation. So, uh, sorry, I have most of the stuff up. I just realized I didn't have one thing that I need here. So it ended up being about 5 reports that I had to do instead of just one. Um, because there's so many variations, and because there are so many variations, you have to do a report for each one. You know what I mean, to figure out what the possibility was. So just to walk you through this, the first one I looked at was 93. However you say that, it's a 2x1.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked these up on Google Maps, it looks like the windows are boarded up. Is that still the case?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's completely dilapidated right now.
Okay. So with this one here, you're saying, do I keep it as a 2x1 or do I build it up like the neighbor to a 2x2.5? Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so these were the comps that I was able to pull for 2 bedroom, 1 bath, all within the same area with the week-long stays. And that average came out to about 48,000. Okay, so let me just pull these up so you can take a look at them. All like what I like about this is they're all great examples of homes that aren't amazing. Like there's nothing like significantly great about them, but they're all just done really well.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that I talk with is the type of person that will do things at a professional level, right? And so I'm not worried. That's why I use them as comparables, because I know that they're capable of doing something similar. So this is a great example here of living room, just well designed, well put together. It shows really well. There's good photos. It was edited properly. Everything's set up. It's not massive. It's literally a 2x1 that's just a small little place well put together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one's performing well. Then you have this lady here. So this is another thing that I love when somebody has multiple locations that are doing well, because that shows consistency from their way of doing things. And once again, this is very well done, well put together, but nothing special, right? So you can,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, you just got the rooms, good photos, good kitchen, uh, backyard is nicely put together. And the next one I'm going to show you as well is just the one over top of that one. So, but this thing's
So it's
going
a
my
two
way.
one on the bottom and then a 1 1 above.
Uh, I think they're both 2x1s, actually. Yeah, 2 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then this one is a 2 bedroom, 1 bath.
Okay.
Yeah,
The 3 beds. Got it.
yeah, all in the
Just
same general look, same area. So
yep.
as you can see, right
Mm-hmm.
now, one of the things that about the data right now is that a lot of these homes, I can't remember if I mentioned this the last time, but I tend to repeat myself. So um, all of the data that we're looking at is from the past 365 days, which have been COVID times, right? And so Florida was 100% not hit nearly as hard as everybody else. And if anything, it might have done a little bit better in some of the places. So with
Mm-hmm.
Florida, I don't like to assume that these numbers are wrong. I just like to say that like they may be a little bit different, but just assume it'll be around these prices. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so all 3 of them you can see here. They're nothing special around. You can do just the same with what you currently have after you build it out, right? If you left it as a 2x1, and that's going to make you about $48,000 a year. Um, right. So every expense that I put in here was the general expenses. Nothing to do with ownership though. So like property taxes or anything along those lines, I don't have in here. And I also don't have the rent or the mortgage because I didn't know what your mortgage payment was. So I left that one blank, right?
Okay.
But what you can see is that with all these expenses, even with somebody else managing it and having somebody else clean it, you still have about $26,000 of money to go towards mortgage and um, property taxes and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So you're looking, and you can't really, if you were to rent this out on a regular basis, this isn't like saying you're getting $4,000 a month if you were to rent it. That's not the same
Right.
because you have more expenses, like a lot more expenses, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you want to use this as your number. right? So that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they'll go to someone and say like, oh, your home can make $100,000 a year as an Airbnb, don't rent it out annually, you'll make way more. It's like, yeah, but you have way more expenses as well that you
Right.
don't consider, and then the landlord actually ends up losing money and it's not worth it. So
Right.
I don't know, do you know what your mortgage would be on that one
Yeah. So on a
roughly?
refinance, we would probably have it at it'd be a refinance to 250,000, and then if it's a commercial loan, which was kind of like what uh, a rental property is deemed, is probably about a 5% interest rate right now, maybe 5.5. So if I pulled up an amortization schedule on that, um, you know,
Gotcha.
okay, you got it. Cool.
Yeah.
I think
How
that's
much?
probably high on the down payment would be 20%. Yeah, and I'd change the interest up to maybe
Oh shit,
5.
sorry.
And then I think the
30 years.
taxes. Yeah, I think I think they do it on 30-year AMs, um, and then the yeah, so property tax a year. I'd probably say it's about that. That's fair.
Yeah.
PMI, that's gone. Um, Zero that out. Home insurance a year. I don't know, what is it for Airbnbs? A little more.
No, it technically is nothing because Airbnb has a insurance policy. So as long as you just have the regular one, you're fine for the
Yeah,
most part.
perfect. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, not compare.
I know it always traps you on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It gets you. All right. So okay, I'm just gonna use 1,500 round up just in case, not 15,000. So this is that's great. Like this is a great looking property so far. If all these numbers hold true, right?
Okay.
A great looking property because to profit 8,000 off of a one bedroom with somebody else managing it is extremely rare, right?
Really.
But mind you, you've got to make the place look like these ones do. And I think this one's probably your best example, just because the outside of the home isn't going to show as well as the green one did, and they really don't have much of a backyard or anything along those lines. So
Yeah.
this would be your best comparable, and the Hideaway did 45,000, which is close enough. So what it's looking like is that that'll be a profitable property. Like I can't tell you how rare it is to come across something like this, especially as a 2x1. I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever done that, quite honestly.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's super interesting, because the other thing is, so this one here is if you were to build it up to a 2x2.5, two by
Yep.
2.5.
And
Your
I could
comparables
maybe
are,
squeeze, 3 bedroom in it, maybe, but it'd be tight. And I'm trying to figure out, is what's better, to have a nice, like, 2-2 that's, got some space, or jam, 3 bedroom. So I thought 2.5, it's a nice, it's spacious.
I'll say this: if I in Chicago, I could never get a place that didn't have a dining room, because I always grouped, there's 4 bedrooms, so it was always 10 to 12 people. If there was no dining room, that means there's barely any common space.
Mhm.
It's just like a lot of rooms, which is great for a like a university type home, but it's terrible for an Airbnb because nobody's staying in the rooms, right?
Yeah.
So that's the one place they go the least. But when
Right.
it's in university, it's one place they are the most. So in this
Got it.
case, like, so if you put the extra bedroom in there, it would be, and you lost like a living room or a dining room because of that, it would be hard to say that the 3 bedrooms would be comparable. I'd have to
Okay.
probably find a 3 bedroom that was tiny like that as well, right? That was
Okay.
jammed.
So
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 anyways,
this works. Yeah.
yeah, so these are now your, what did I pull up here? So these are, the
Two twos.
top one is a 2x2, 2x2, then you have 2x2.5, then 2x2. And you'll notice the one here that is a 2x2.5 is 74,000, but I purposely left the other ones in. Come on. Because of the size of this one. So I don't think this is a direct comparable to what you would be doing or what you'd be able to do. Like, yes, you could build it out this way, but this is a full out house. Like there's a lot to this, and it's 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. And just looking at the property, it didn't feel like it was a strong comparable because it's massive, right? So this is a great example of a lot of additional space and how it performs well, right? Because if we go and look at these other ones over here, so let me pull up the other two. These ones did 45 roughly, instead of 74, which is a huge gap between the two. And there's I need to explain this a little better. So here's the 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I think this one's done poorly. In fact, I'm pretty sure I wrote in that all of these homes are done poorly. Like these photos are trash. You got 3 photos of the outside of the house, one after another.
iPhone 6 out there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so stupid because like the inside, it's actually pretty decent. Like it looks nice, right? But it's not amazing, but it's not great. Another little point while I'm talking, don't get things that have holes in them. Don't get glass tables either. It does not show well in photos at all. Make sure everything's solid so you can see the shape of everything. It shows really well in a photo. Anyways, tiny little place, right? You can see like everything is jam-packed, and we've gone through 12 photos, and all we've seen is the outside of the house, the dining table, and the living, and the couch. Like, so really, really poor listing, right? So I'm not surprised that they're only doing 45,000. So this is sort of the caveat. Anyways, you get the idea of it, right? Then you have this one here. Now this one also doing 45,000. Instantly it's like, well, it looks super nice, right? Like, why would that be? It's kind of a beautiful place right along the water. You go inside, it's a lot, like, it's cool. It's a cool place. So the way I sum this one up is that I believe it's on a shared property. So it's not. Yeah, exactly. So that destroys your revenue. Like, people always ask me, should I like to do stuff like this? And people don't like to share their property at all. So like when you're renting out as on an Airbnb type way, like people just don't want, if there's a backyard, they want the backyard to themselves. If there's a rooftop patio, they want it to themselves. They don't want the chance of like running into somebody. And so, and they'll ask you that question. They'll be like I used to have a rooftop patio place, and they're like, is that rooftop patio just ours? And I would have to say no. However, nobody used it ever. And so people were like, oh, okay, like that's fine. But if it was like, yeah, and it's shared with like 4 other Airbnbs, then you know you're going to run into people, and it's not going to be your own, it's not private, right? And you then you have to decrease your price to be able to get people in there. Now you just the rooftop patio almost has no value. And that's, I feel like, what's happening here, right? They really don't have their own space. So that's why it's so low. And then this one here that's doing 74, it's just a massive home. Like it's really big. It just doesn't have
many square feet is it?
I don't think it says.
Does it say?
Let's see. This is all we're seeing. But it's it's a classic home.
I know this exact house. I've driven by it a bunch.
So this is so the reason why I left all 3 of these properties in here together. Typically I wouldn't do that because if like, how do I explain it? So I can't just take homes that perform really well and kind of mix it together, because then one's too high and one's too low, right? So say you did have like a big home, then you would be doing closer to 74, right? But you don't have a bigger home. And if this listing was performed really well, kind of like the first 3 that we're looking at, then I would say that, that's a true number. In reality, this one could probably do better if it listed the home better. It took better photos, put better interior in there, like really played out the fact that it's, a 1900 home, built in the 1900s and all those different things, right? But it doesn't. And so 74 is actually kind of a weak revenue number. And then these other 2 here, one's on a shared property, so it destroys its revenue, and yours isn't in that case. And then another one is just a really poor listing in a tiny home.
Yeah.
So my thought is, if you did have a 2 bedroom, 2.5 bath, you would perform really well. It wouldn't be super tiny, would, hopefully not be super tiny. I think you'd have some outdoor space,
Hmm.
and you would make it look really nice. So you would be somewhere in between these two. You don't have as big of a place, and you're not going to do a bad listing. So you're in between, which is why I use those numbers there. But
Okay.
even with all that, it only brings you up to 54,000, right? It only brings you around 54,000. I said could potentially be around 60 to 70, but like when you're doing this stuff, you can't just assume you're going to be doing the best. You got to assume you're going to be doing the mediumist. You know what I mean? You don't have to assume you're going to do the worst, but like assume you'll do the middle. If you do better, great. Um, but like the max I would say is 60, but I kept at 54. And in that case, you would have $30,000 of additional revenue instead of uh, the 26,000, right? So your
Yeah.
question when you sent this was, is it worth it for me to build it out as a 2 by 2.5 or leave it as a 2 by 1? And so you got to ask yourself, is the additional 6,000 going to be worth the additional money that you're going to put in? And my guess is no.
Yeah. So I think the mortgage on that would be closer to probably like 300. Um,
Like loan amount,
yeah. Yeah. At the 5.
1893.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna put 2,000 just in case we're off on anything else.
Yeah.
So you're up,
It's
you're
less.
yeah, by 2,000. So now this is where the real estate investment side comes into play, where you go,
Yeah.
um, is putting, I'm going to lose $2,000 of revenue, but how much is having 2 by 2.5 going to increase the value of the home, and what's the appreciation on that? Is it worth it? Is the investment worth it on that end? Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, the reason I was astonished by this is because 2 by 1s generally don't do well. Like they almost never profit. And to see them that they're profiting in this area was a nice surprise. Um,
Yeah.
but then to
And I
see
think
that,
a lot of it has to do with, I'm sorry, but a
no, it's
lot of it
okay.
has to do with like those houses are very small in there. So I would say majority of the homes in that area are 2 1s, which is really
There
unique. I
were a
mean,
lot.
this neighborhood was built as the workforce housing for the downtown of St. Augustine back in the 1800s, 1900s. So,
Hmm.
that's why there's all these little shotgun shacks, 600, 700
Yeah.
square foot, 500 square foot. So it was like the labor force. And
Right.
so majority of everything there is very small. It's rare to have, like what you showed, a larger, 2 bedroom, 3 bath house. Um, it's just, it's not common. Did Were you able to look at the one next door, the 91 Oneida
It
Street?
didn't. It didn't have good data, and I
It
couldn't
didn't have.
find it on. I couldn't find it within the listings that we pulled out either. And even when I wanted to Airbnb, I couldn't find it either. Like it just
So
like wasn't there.
yeah, so I mean, it's newer. I mean, I think they started it up right when I bought mine, so it's probably only 3 months in. So there's really not much. I know that there are people that lease it, but again, 3 months is probably not going to be enough for us to.
It
Um,
would. It wouldn't be enough, but it still should have shown. That was what was annoying. Like I couldn't. I saw the home on Google Maps, but when I was trying to go in there to find it, it just wasn't there.
so
I didn't understand
so
why.
um, which is interesting because it does have the on-site parking that's required. Um,
See what I mean? I have
yeah,
no dates put in here, nothing, and it's not showing up. Oh, got this one. It's not this one.
no, and I don't even think that's right there because
I
that
don't think
house
it
is
is
not on
either.
the block at all.
Yeah,
I've never- so
and it's not this one either.
it's not that one. That's not on the block either. So that's
No.
weird. That's not
So
on the block either. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Those are my bad. So 91's further down where DeHaven is. So we're right here on this corner of like DeHaven and Oneida. That's where ours is. So those would make sense. Those are new construction. They just finished those.
this isn't it
Um,
either.
I don't remember seeing that. And then across the street from us.
I
So
think
these
you remember
maps
that
are a
one.
little off.
They are. They're purposely off. It's the way that AirDNA protects where your Airbnb is. But
Really?
but at the same time, so you can choose to be like put your thing where your home actually is, or to make it in a general 2 kilometer, 2 mile radius, something like that. So
Why would you not
it
want to
just
put your
depends.
exact location? I think that's a value.
Robberies and stuff like that. So you can kind of get like a general location, but some people are just worried that they'll know it's an Airbnb and go in, and because that has happened in the past,
Mm.
where people have targeted Airbnbs and rob them, even though there's nearly nothing in them.
So see this one that's a 2-2, uh, that one, the Haven Tiny House.
Yeah,
This is a couple out of Denver, Colorado. They came and just bought this thing, um, turnkey. It was on the market. The designer did a good job designing it, and then they came in and furnished it and did some minor little stuff. But there is a little pool in the back.
nice. That's
That's
so cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they just bought that one again back in March. And so it's right around the corner from me. This is this one's a little bit bigger than mine. I think it's like 750 square feet, but I love that little pool
this
component. I think that's cool.
people don't really need to swim. They just need
The
to
soap.
hang, like they just hang out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
especially adults. When I've been saying this for about a year now, that pools need to be redesigned to be lounge areas where there's like a spot where, like, you can see here, this is a spot where you can literally lay out. There should be a table in here where you can like hang out, have drinks. That's all you need. You just need to, yeah, soak is a
Yeah.
good word for it. Just soak.
So have you seen the pool systems that on hydraulics, and they're actually flush with the ground level, and then when you press a button, it starts going down and it fills with water. So it has these filling tanks that are under the ground next to it, and as the panel goes down further into the ground, it fills up the pool. So what it allows you to do is moderate the height of the pool, so you can do an entire pool at like 1 foot. So you're just kind of laying there, lounging
Really?
for 2 feet, 3 feet. Yeah, you can like adjust it. And I think more
Interesting.
expensive ones, you can even have different layers inside. And I'll send you a link to it. It's really interesting. It's going to be expensive, but it's what it does is it takes away the fear of having a pool that you cannot get away from with kids, right? Or even elderly people. So when you're not
Right.
using it, it's like it's just a pad. It's a backyard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super interesting.
Sidebar.
Um,
But,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
That's
that one was cool, right? Like that was kind of the idea I had for the 2-1, is creating some sort of little soaking space.
Yep. So
It's
if you did something like this, right, and you put together, you're good. The pool's gonna increase your revenue. It just is, even if it's just a little soaking space, right? Like
Mhm.
this, I don't have the data on this obviously, but this is a really well done place. It's a 2x2, or 2x1.5.
Mhm.
My assumption is that they're probably doing slightly better than the other ones. But I mean, you're in Florida, like you're going to be able to charge more. This home most likely is charging more than the other 2x1s that we were looking at.
Yeah, I know
Checking.
these managers. I met with them before.
Is it these guys or is it somebody
Yep.
else?
Danny and Andre are the
Okay,
managers. Yeah.
and so they just manage it themselves then.
Yeah, Mike actually got me in touch with them.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
nice.
just managing. They're trying to build a portfolio of managers. They own a few themselves, I believe, or maybe
Yeah,
many, but they're also managing for other people.
that's a really smart way of going about it. Also, notice they're only doing 4 days, eh?
So,
And I know there's
yeah,
a week long.
because in Lincolnville, um, it requires you can only have one booking per week or
Right.
within 7 days. So I guess they do the 4 days, so it's only sitting a maximum of 3 days idle.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. Which I don't know why you'd want to do that, but okay, this is a good one. I'm trying to see right now. What I'm doing is I'm just double checking price comparison because I believe that they should be charging more, and so I want to see if that's actually true. So I got the 17th to the 21st.
Same
And you
thing,
can see
just
this
doing a
one,
fortnight minimum.
17 and 17. So it actually comes up to the same.
It's just cleaning fees less, huh?
Yeah, which is odd.
Does it
Significantly
matter?
less.
I mean, is it smarter to show a lower nightly rate and a higher cleaning fee? I mean,
I honest to God don't know. I had my homes priced at a certain cleaning fee that I needed them to be priced at, which I knew was competitive with everybody else, and then I just priced my home at whatever I priced it.
got it.
That's so the other little thing about this is how to explain this, like with the 2 bedroom, I think I explained this last time we talked, but a 2 bedroom is capped by the 3 bedrooms, right? So you can charge more than a 1 bedroom, but not more than a 3 bedroom, unless your
Right.
product is luxury. So 2 bedrooms play within a certain range, and that's all they can really do. So I'm not overly surprised that there's not a big difference, even with one having a pool and one not. Um, that's most likely the reason. If you were at the top of the range, a pool would make a lot bigger of a difference because you can ask a lot more because you're a 4 bedroom, right? Or a 5 bedroom, whatever the max is. So it does make a difference at those points, but it's hard to say. Obviously, I'm not doing a deep dive here, so I don't want to say
Yeah,
100% that
yeah.
these homes do the exact same, but just as a quick overview, they're receiving the same amount of revenue within that same week period. And so it doesn't look like the pool is making a huge difference revenue wise in comparison, even though I would book this home, like I would pay more and want this home over this one every single time, like without a
Yeah.
doubt.
So would I.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an easy choice for me, but
exactly. Yeah. So
we're
odds
not.
are it's probably doing better. Um,
Yeah.
but by how much is the question, right? And like how much more profit will you get? How much more will the home be worth? Like how much easier would it be to sell? Stuff like that. So, anyways, I'll put these two side by side, so you can do a price comparison and allow you to know exactly what you can expect. But my take on it is that it's really going to come down to the home value increase for the additional revenue costs of putting that
Okay.
together, and that's going to be that'll be on you. But they look good. That's the thing. They both look good, which is great. Honestly, the majority of the time I do these, like I have to tell people to not go forward with it because it just doesn't make sense. And to see if this one makes sense makes me feel good because it's always what I want, right?
Yeah.
For people. Anyway, so this is the next one here. This is the 3 bedroom, 3 bath. And you can see right off the bat, huge difference between the two. So odds are this is done. I'm trying to refresh my memory as I take a look at these. Odds are this is the same as the last one. One doing really poorly, one doing well. Yours probably will meet in the middle. And I believe that's the case. Yeah. So yeah. So this one is the second one. So this is the one doing about 50,000. Really dark photos. Really not seeing much, but it's not terribly put together. But it really is.
Yeah.
So this is the psychology I'll walk you through. This is super dark. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at, and nothing's pulling me in. Dark is never great for vacations. People don't want to see dark when they're trying to find something fun, right?
Right.
Seeing the outside of the house is great, but I want to get inside. I want to see what's going on. This photo here is just awful right at the very beginning because who cares about that chair before? That should be like at the very end, right? Now this is a really shitty piece here too that I noticed. So you got 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 1, 2, 3. Just kind of hits you like that. When you're going through this, like you, the one thing they did well is all 3 bedrooms look differently, but you want people to feel themselves inside the room, and the way you do that is by moving around the room with photos. So you get from one corner to the other corner a little bit up close, and that person is now like they can picture it in their head. They've now have the walls all figured out. They know what it looks like from different angles, and they picture themselves in it, and that allows them to be. You want them to resonate with your home so that they have this like subconscious feeling that they're attached to it, so that they want to book your home over somebody else's home, right? And this home is not doing any of that. It's not pulling me in whatsoever. And you never want to go from room to room to room because the way that people typically go through homes is they'll look at it and do this, right? Photo, 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 photo. They're just zipping through. I don't even know. I just went through all of the bedrooms, right? It's just so quick, and that's not what you want. So pretty much what I'm getting at is just it's a decently designed home, not well designed, decently looking home, good furniture, stuff like that. But the reason it's not doing well is just really because they don't know how to market, and it's upsetting. It's kind of sad to see that people really don't, like, I see this all the time on Airbnb, but people don't know how to market properly, and so they lose like 10 to 20 possible $1,000 because they're just not putting things together well, right? In comparison to their competitors, right? Which is one of the huge advantages of knowing Airbnb well and just knowing how to do things properly, because your competition is a random person who has an extra home and took some photos on their iPhone, right? That's like the vast majority of your competition, but it's just sad to see. So then obviously this is another 3-bedroom, 3-bath, not in the same area, doing $50,000 more. Obviously it's a nicer
Dude,
home.
so check this out. Check this out. This is across
Yeah,
the street.
across the street.
See this house from my stoop.
Okay, so all I would say is duplicate what they're doing. Like,
Yeah.
don't take it. Just like figure it out and make it very similar. That's awesome. So
Yeah, it's across the street.
there's 6. Yeah, that's super
Awesome.
cool. Like obviously great photos, well designed. See how this photo of the
Yeah,
front compared to this photo?
Yeah, I can feel myself sitting in those chairs now, and not that one.
It's leveled, right? You're at the
Yeah.
So this is a little trick here where the camera shot. The guy actually had to go really far down to take this shot, but it's at the height level that you would be sitting at, and so this is sort of how you would see it compared to that, right?
Yeah.
Like so this is the difference between $50,000 as a photo shoot and
Wow.
well put together. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at this photo when I see it, like I was with the other one. But look, they got the photo. The blue doors is awesome because it makes it stand out. American flag, all that's great stuff, right? It kind of pulls you in. But the next photo, I'm looking right I'm in the kitchen, right? Instead of the front porch. I'm now seeing a really nice home. We got the exposed brick, loving the feel of it. Now I'm getting a feel for the outside, and now I'm walking in the home officially. So those first couple of photos are just sort of like highlighting, like, this is our stuff, this is our best stuff. Now let's actually take a tour through the home, right? So you walk in, now you see it from the other way. That looks like a pretty interesting little door they got there too.
Yeah, that's cool. Old school.
Anyways, so I'm kind of going into like the psychology of how you put a home together, but
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I'm going deep with it so that you understand why this one is doing so much better in comparison,
Okay.
right? Because you need to know that to be able to do at that level, right? So,
Got it. Yeah.
and
That
like,
makes
there's a
sense.
lot more that I can get into it for you to understand, but this is a great example. And what I did here, because I always have to go expect that you're not going to do the best. I'm never going to sit here and say you're going to do the better than everyone else. So what I did was I chose both of these because one is really good and one's not as good. And so if maybe you coming in, not being an absolute expert, but you still know how to do everything, I'm going to put you a little bit more in between. So it's a safer play for me to tell you that, but now you know what you need to do the best. So you know that you could potentially end up in that range, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the mid between these two guys is about 80,000. And at 80,000, you have about $44,000 extra that you can work with. So do you know what your mortgage would be on that?
Yeah, I'd say like 400 on that one.
5% as well.
Yeah.
So you're about 24. Yeah. So
I'd call it probably 26 because the property tax will be higher.
all right. Plenty of room to play there. 13,000. That's with paying somebody $18,000 to manage it and $8,000, almost $9,000 to clean it. Right. And if you talk to those guys down the street and you say, hey, I don't want to pay you 30%, but I'll pay you 20% because I know you and like it's a good home, you're now paying them $12,000 instead, and you're walking away with 20. This is if you do 80,000. If you did the exact same as those guys across the street, and you maybe put a pool in there, and so you can actually bump it up a little bit more. This is where, hey, look, I did really well, right? This is somebody else managing it and putting together. this is super rare, by the way. Like you've kind of got a little bit of a gold mine in this sense. This is not usually how this goes. Just keeping that in mind, please.
Yeah, and so like, and that was a very basic like renovation. Remember, my idea for the renovations is like doing some really unique, like designer quality rooms to where, the you just get a real sense of like history in each little piece. I'm gonna do more than
Yeah,
just that. I mean, that was clean. It was really nice, but I
yeah,
want I want like each room to have like an intimate feeling that is not so much for like the old school bed and breakfasts where it's like really crazy wallpaper and
right,
old
yeah,
furniture, but more or less uh, just high design. All the
yeah.
little things.
That'll make a huge. That's awesome because that's the stuff that wins that people don't realize. I remember I went into an Airbnb in Montreal one time and it had a photo of Chicago's skyline, and I was like, I was so mad about it. And it was
Yeah,
Sonder. It's the biggest Airbnb company in the world. They have like over
yeah,
3,000 places. They just went public, and there was a photo of Chicago in a Montreal home, and I was like, I'm in Montreal. I want to
yeah,
live Montreal as much as I possibly can.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, no, that
right?
makes sense.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is another great buy, great purchase, great location. Well done is what I'll say with that. Um, Now the next two were you said, what if I combine them? So I had to do a 5x4, which would be the 3x3 and the 2x1, and then a 5x5.5. And uh, they don't exist. And so
Yeah,
there's no data whatsoever. So you can see here there is this information.
at the beach, though, right? They're all
Yeah,
big.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like this is not what you'd be having. This is the only one that was even remotely useful. So the only way that I could pretty much what you would have to do is risk it. Is you
So
would have to risk.
how well are those doing? Because I mean, again,
But
yeah,
that's the
it's
thing.
a
Yeah,
risk is like there's
it's
nothing that big. So are people that need something that big, are they forced to go out to the beach as opposed to being wanting to be in town, right? Like,
well the way I was thinking about this is, let's say these numbers here are true. Like look at this one we just looked at. Like this thing is freaking beautiful, right? And it's one
yes,
home, so everybody's together in this one place, and it's doing 148. With the numbers that we just went over, you're looking at somewhere between 120 to $150,000, right? In that you like
yeah,
exact same, two separate homes, you
that I
got two
could
separate
liquidate
groups,
easier. Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
And if you're talking about, if yeah, like you said, liquidate easier, if you're going to sell them, a lot easier to do that as well if you don't combine them. Now, mind you, you can always have three listings, one for each and one combined. And the one combined, you just make the price double of what you would normally do, right? And you'll be the only person out there that has 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, or whatever, right? And so you'll be the only option out there, and you can have it, and it's available. And if somebody books it, it's it's worth it for you at that price. But if somebody books the 2 bedroom, then that listing also gets blocked, and
So
now it
is
doesn't
that kind
matter.
of where? So Danny was one person um, that the girl that you saw as a manager in a single photo. She's the young lady who's really pushing on like the wedding events and the bachelorette parties and the bachelor parties. So, um,
Mm.
is that where you kind of need to get in with somebody like that to say, hey, look, if you're managing it, you can control it. Oh, and by the way, now you have another big home to pitch a group that might come to you to help them with, their parties and such.
I feel like I'm not understanding that fully. You're saying that the
Okay.
people across the street, they rent out to bachelor parties?
Yeah, so they have like this private
Okay, then
well, they have
yes.
their own website and their own company that they're like SEO trying to like
Yeah,
get, they're marketing to bachelorette parties. Um,
yeah,
and that was part of their pitch to do the management is like, hey, I'm marketing for my own tenants as well, or guests. So
right. And they were talking around 21% to 25%, right? Yes. So pretty much what
Well,
I'm
that's
saying is
28. Yeah, it was 28.
28. Okay, so the 30 is fine then. Just because in case we missed anything else, like keep it as is.
But that's good news because honestly, I was hoping that you weren't going to come back and say, yeah, blow them both down, build this massive place, because that would be a harder hill to climb.
Yeah,
So this is
definitely.
good. This is good. And this is conservative data too. I mean, you blended the two to give me a margin there of
Yeah.
error. Knock it out of the park. These numbers just all get better.
It's already good. The fact, like, so the fact that you have somebody else managing it and you're still profitable above what you're paying in the mortgage is outrageously rare. And I've probably said that 10 times already, but
Yeah.
it's so rare. It doesn't happen. It's what the people on YouTube, they talk about rental arbitrage. You go rent somebody's place and have somebody else manage it and just take the extra cash flow.
Yeah.
All the years I've been doing this, I've come across 2 places in Chicago that I can actually do that with. And every single time somebody has had me do one of these evaluations for them to try and figure that out, it's never actually said yes. Like I've never been able to tell them like, oh yeah, rent that out and you can have somebody manage it and you'll make $20,000 a year just by sitting around. It's never worked out that way ever. So this is the first time I've ever seen it where it's this nice. And so obviously like Florida, the area, everything, come together, owning it, that all has allowed for this to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well done in that case.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Plus with being creative with it and managing it properly, and the people like whatever, anyways, people across the street, if that's the ones who are managing it or the ones with the tiny home, whichever one it is, they obviously know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
I feel like you'll do just fine.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. I technically got to get back to work. So,
Okay, man. I appreciate
yeah.
this. This has been very helpful. You're going to share that with me so I can look at it.